Hello and welcome to Bronze Age Monsters, the podcast where we waded into the weirdest and wildest comics of the 1970s. I'm Matt Howell. Even though the show's been finished for a while, I occasionally look at our download metrics, and I'm thrilled to see people still discovering the podcast. It's nice to know it's still going strong. Thanks for checking it out. During our time on BAM, we covered the earliest adventures of Satana, the Devil's Daughter, as she made her way through the black and white Curtis magazines, Vampire Tales, and Haunt of Horror. Although we're done talking comics as a podcast, we still have a little unfinished business in the form of the final two stories of the Satana saga before she wound up in the 4-color comics. If you've missed out on the earlier chapters, there's a playlist on our YouTube channel that covers the story so far. Satana's banishment from hell, her battle against the demonic cabal known as the Four, her sojourn into the underworld to confront her tormentors, and, well, I'll let you check it out for yourself. It's been quite a ride. I've put a link to the playlist in the show notes. It's worth a listen as we went from her nearly wordless introduction to Jacob and I reading through a chapter trading off panels, a prose story given the full radio play treatment, and some Power Record style dramatizations. As I said, it's been a wild ride, and I think your eyes, ears, and fevered brain will dig it, so check it out. This episode's offering is from the penultimate Satana story, and it was published in Haunt of Horror number 4 in the fall of 1974. It had 2 chapters, so I'm breaking it up into 2 episodes. This one's a prose story, so if you can, turn out the lights, sit back, and enjoy. Bronze Age Monsters presents Doorway to Dark Destiny. A Satana text story by Chris Claremont. Part 1. She lay face down in the alley, in the garbage, her body hunched in on itself against the pain. There'd been a lot of pain these past hours. She'd never believed there could be such pain. She felt all squashed inside, her breath coming in hoarse, frothy gasps, her blood obscenely bright as it mixed with the mud congealing around her. She tried moving once, a long time ago, and the attempt had left her breathless with a sudden, blinding agony. She hadn't tried again. She was going to die. She knew that now. And not all her hell-spawned powers could save her. She didn't want to die.
Father.
She keened, knowing her call was hopeless. She was too weak to pierce the mystic barrier Miles Gorney had erected between hell and earth. The barrier. She thought it destroyed in the Cave of the Winds, when the Four had attacked her and Xanarth had died. But tonight, when she blasted a desperate mind call for satanic aid across the ether, she'd found the barrier up again, stronger than ever. Rested and unhurt, she might have pierced it, but not now. She had no strength left. Still, she had to try.
Father,
she called.
Help me. In hell's name, help me.
The effort was too much, her system too far gone to stand the strain. She blacked out. That was how he found her. He'd been working the 4 to midnight shift out of the Rogovan Pavilion's emergency rooms, and, as so often happened around the Labor Day weekend, fuel crisis or no fuel crisis, a multiple car chain reaction smash-up on one of the outer belt freeways had kept everyone working their butts off well into the small hours of the morning. It had been near 3 before he'd gotten out. Jimmy Cruz had been there too, tall and looming in his black suit. A lot of the debtors had been Catholic, and Jimmy, Monsignor Cruz now, it seemed, Jimmy Boy had done well for himself, had been called in to administer last rites. There hadn't been time to be delicate with most of the patients. It was a lot like Nam. The bodies had been rushed into surgery direct from the ambulance bay or medevac helipad. Once in surgery, Heron and the other duty surgeons had scanned. Rough cut, basic stopgap work only, unless the patient was really wiped out, and moved the live ones on out to intensive care. They'd played butcher shop, but because they were damn good at their job, they hadn't lost too many. Once or twice during the madness, Heron had come up for air, his eyes meeting Jimmy's, both men nodding hello before returning to work. He'd spotted Jimmy looking for him when he was in the scrub room, and he'd gotten out fast. He didn't want to talk to Cruz. He knew what the other man would say. He'd heard it all before, and he didn't want to hear it again. He stood a moment on the street, listening to the growling hubbub coming from the reporters massed around the hospital's main entrance. It was a hot night, sticky with the threat of an approaching storm. Normally, trucking home this early in the morning, he'd have called for a taxi. But tonight he didn't feel like it. After 10 hours in the cramped insanity of the emergency room, he wanted to stretch his legs and be alone, muggers or no muggers. So he walked. It was only a couple of miles to his apartment, a half-hour's distance if he set himself a good pace. The cat stopped him. A big cat, the biggest alley roamer he'd ever seen, stretching out in front of him on the sidewalk. Heron stepped towards the street, intending to go around, wondering if strays were really as peaceable as they were reputed to be. But the cat blocked his way again. He stepped forward, hoping the animal would give way. Instead, its ears went flat along its skull and it bared its teeth. Big teeth, too. He was too tired to argue, so he turned around and headed back towards the intersection, figuring he'd cut over a block and come up to his apartment house from the other direction. Except the cat wouldn't let him go that way either.
What the hell's the matter with you?
He asked the cat, feeling annoyed and a little foolish.
I'm flipping out.
He thought.
I really am. I'm talking to a cat.
Then he heard the groan. He was in the alley before his inner city common sense could stop him, the cat bounding in after him. It only took him a moment to check the woman over, and his face twisted with a mixture of anger and helplessness when he saw what had been done to her. Someone had worked her over, but good. Worked her over to kill. He'd need a paramed team for this, and an ambulance to get her over to the Rogovan Pavilion. Even then, she'd probably be DOA. There was a police call box just up the street. He started out of the alley, but, again, the cat blocked his way. It was on its feet now, a low growl coming from behind its red eyes. No way was it going to let him pass. He'd never seen a cat with red eyes before. But red eyes or not, he'd had just about enough of this animal.
You with her?
He asked. He didn't wait for any kind of answer.
Look, cat, I'm a doctor and I can help her, but not here. She needs expert help and the best facilities, and even then it's going to be touch and go. So let me by and let me call an ambulance before it's too late, all right?
He took a step forward and the cat spat at him. Its fur gone stiff all down its back. Heron took a slow breath and stayed where he was.
Father,
the woman murmured, semi-conscious and delirious. Heron turned back to her and tried to make her as comfortable as he could. That damn cat.
Father, help me.
Her voice trailed off, her head flopping limply to one side. Instinctively, Heron felt for her pulse, found it, what there was of it, thready and very weak. She didn't have much time. She'd called him father. How did she know? He shook his head as he stripped off his coat, wadding it into a pillow for her head. It was impossible. There was no way she could have known. He shrugged his shoulders. Maybe the woman was Catholic and hallucinating. Jimmy Cruz, he thought. Where are you when I need you?
Easy, love. Easy,
Heron said softly, stroking the woman's head. There wasn't much light in the alley, but there was enough to see that, once, this beaten hulk had been a very beautiful woman. God, what a waste.
Just relax. It'll be over soon.
She stirred, her eyes fluttered open. They cast about wildly for a moment before they met his. The woman relaxed then, the hint of a smile playing around the edges of her mouth. All of a sudden, her gaze dropped to his chest and she cried out, pushing at him with the little strength she had left, twisting her head as far away from him as she could, whimpering in agony, but an agony that had nothing to do with the physical hurts she'd suffered. Heron looked down at his chest. Somehow, in his rush to leave the hospital, he'd gotten his crucifix chain tangled up so that it was hanging outside his shirt instead of underneath. In the alley's shadows, with his cross hanging outside his dark shirt, you could almost mistake him for a priest. But why should she fear a priest so? "You move real slow, boy, and maybe you don't get hurt none. You got that, boy?" Cursing himself with every name in the book for letting his guard drop, Heron eased the woman's head down and pushed himself to his feet. "You turn around, boy," the voice said, "and you keep it real slow." He turned, and a blinding light snapped full into his face. Heron crying out as pain seared across his eyes, covering his face with his arms to blot out the unbearable light. As he reeled, he felt hands slapping him all over, checking for weapons.
"What is this?"
he snapped. "I'll ask the questions, boy. Now who are you?"
"I'm a doctor, and this woman..."
"I know about that woman." The man made the word an obscenity. "Believe me, Doc, I know. How come she ain't dead yet?"
"You did that to her?"
"Me and some friends. I asked your name."
"Heron. Michael Heron. What's this all about?"
"Less you know, Doc, the less you can tell. All you gotta do is be a good boy and not involved, and everything's gonna be just fine. Copy, Doc?"
"She'll die, damn it!"
Heron flared. The other man just chuckled softly. "That's the idea, boy," he said. Heron squinted into the light, trying to see the man behind it. No good. The beam was too strong. And yet, there was something terribly familiar about his speech patterns, his movements.
"You beret?"
Heron asked suddenly. "Ain't none of your business, boy," the other man snapped. Then he laughed. "Yeah, Doc, I'm a Green Beret. X. Can't tell you no more, elsewise I'll have to smoke you too. It's funny though, being a beret's what brought me back. The others, they figured the beating alone would do the trick. Not me. To me, the enemy ain't dead till you got their heads hung on your hooch poles. Sometimes not even then. So I come back to make sure. Good thing I did too, wouldn't you say?" The man laughed again. And something squalled from the street end of the alley. Something that might have been cat, might have been lion. Something both men knew was not born of this earth, or any other. The man turned, tossing his light to one side as he threw himself against the far wall of the alley and brought his rifle up. It was an M16, set on automatic, and he triggered an entire clip up the alley as the thing that had squalled its challenge hurtled down to meet him. The man was fumbling a fresh clip into his rifle when the thing slammed into him, and he screamed as its fetid, charnel pit breath started his face running like melting wax, screamed impossibly louder as its great claws raked him open from chin to groin. Heron almost screamed himself when the madly rolling flashlight caught what was left of the man and the thing that had killed him in its beam for a second. The thing was feeding. The thing turned to him, its red eyes gleaming deep into Heron's gray ones, and, numb with horror at what had happened, what was happening, Heron felt himself turn back to the barely alive body of the woman, felt himself scoop her battered form out of the garbage, felt himself stagger run up the alley with her in his arms. The cat followed him, its red eyes never leaving Heron as it herded him back to his apartment. There was a scuffle at the elevator. Heron wasn't sure why. Part of him wondering what had happened to the night porter, most of him concentrating on getting the woman into bed before she died. He cleaned her up as best he could, splinting her broken limbs and bandaging her cuts with the few supplies he dared keep around the house. But the work was makeshift, brilliant improvisation at best. The way she'd been slammed around, the woman must have suffered some internal injuries, but there was no way of knowing outside a hospital. He'd given up trying to call one. Each time he moved towards the phone, the cat would block his way, ears down, fur up, teeth bared. It was almost funny until he remembered the man in the alley, the thing bending over him. And then there was the woman's birthmark. He'd found it when he'd examined her, its delicate black outline nestled at the base of her throat, hidden by the high collar of her tunic, standing out in stark contrast to her ivory skin. He'd recognized it the moment he saw it, but he'd gone into his study to check, just to make sure. Satan mark. And not just any Satan mark, if his books were to be believed. This ornate brand meant one of the royal house, bloodkin to Lucifer himself, and if bloodkin meant daughter, succubus. If the books were to be believed. He shivered, in spite of himself, wondering idly if his faith was strong enough to protect him. If it wasn't, he'd know soon enough.
Que sera, sera,
he thought.
What will be, will be.
Besides, that cat wasn't going to let him go anywhere. Or was it? The animal had followed Heron into the study, but it had stayed near the far wall ever since. He looked at the cat a moment, and then moved his eyes across the room to the chipped wooden crucifix mounted over his hearth. It had been a sort of going-away present from some grunts he'd worked with in Nam, a tribute to the fact that he'd survived a year in the boonies, that he'd survived at all. If there was anything in his life Heron cherished, it was that cross, and the cat was afraid of it. And why not? If the cat was indeed the woman's satanic familiar, then it was only logical that it should fear the cross.
Cat,
Heron said quietly.
I think you're bluffing.
The cat ignored him, its attention focused on washing its left forefoot. Heron smiled, wondering why this insanity seemed so natural. Maybe that was what insanity was. A different view of what was natural. And somehow, God knew why, he tumbled over the edge into a nightmare. Well, nightmare or no, the woman needed a hospital. Heron reached for the phone, praying to God he wasn't too late. The cat did nothing. Heron started, the phone banging down onto its cradle, his back icy with fear as he pulled himself to his feet, listening. He'd heard something, a something that had touched deep primeval fears. But what? He listened for the sound again, every sense honed to a feverish alertness. But all he could hear were the usual house sounds, a car or two on the street outside, the wind, a late flight drifting into Los Angeles International. He shook his head, wiping a hand across his forehead, and he wasn't at all surprised to find himself soaking in sweat. At this rate, insanity or no, he'd never last the night. What the hell was that Jim Morrison line?
You can petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer.
He looked over at the small hearth, the pictures and diplomas he'd grouped above it, his medical degree, his seminary degrees, St. Jerome's in San Francisco, then work in Spain and at the North American College in Rome, his certificate of ordination, and a photo set of his first assignment, his first parish. And, last but not least, dominating his collection, a letter, inscribed in Latin on ornate vellum, from His Holiness the Pope to Father Michael Heron, S.J., releasing the said Father Heron from all his priestly vows and responsibilities, severing him from the priesthood now and for all time. 6 years he'd been out now, and it still hurt. The cat meowed, its eyes intent on Heron, and he had the feeling that it wasn't the cat watching him at all, but someone else, examining him like he was a microbe on a slide, dissecting him and looking very pleased with what it found. The cat went away, and Heron turned back to the crucifix above the hearth. The words came unbidden. He'd heard and repeated them so often, they'd become a part of him. And the weird thing was that, After all these years, they still gave him comfort.
Our Father, who art in heaven, blessed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
From outside the study door, the cat stiffened as it heard Heron's voice. Then it spat, its fur standing high along its back. It began to pace, but it never once looked inside the study. Heron felt better when he was done. He also felt hungry. Confused, he looked at his watch, massaging the back of his neck to ease the kinks that had grown there since yesterday morning. He vaguely remembered grabbing a quick snack around 11, but that was it. And his watch said 6:10. Rush hour outside. Already, he could hear the horns. It'd be dawn soon.
Well,
He groaned to no one in particular.
might as well have some breakfast. No point in going to bed.
Heron put some water on for coffee and cracked some eggs into one frying pan, spread bacon in another.
Good morning.
The woman said from behind him. He turned carelessly, his right hand brushing against one of the hot frying pans and getting burned. He cursed.
Shit! What the blazes are you doing up?
He snapped, looking her over in a mixture of shock and confusion. She was whole and relatively undamaged. Only a few bandages indicating that she'd been hurt at all, let alone near death. Her splints were gone, her broken bones obviously healed. She still looked very thin, though, almost lost inside of one of Heron's terrycloth robes, her breathing shallow, her eyes bright with the residue of last night's fever.
I heard you moving about.
She said softly. She had a deep voice, a commanding one, made huskier and oddly more evocative by her fever. It was a voice to stir the blood.
I felt much recovered, and I wish to thank you for your assistance.
Heron smiled wryly.
What assistance? You seem to have done it all yourself.
The man would have killed me.
Heron's smile faded as he remembered last night, his eyes hardening as he found gaps in his memory that shouldn't have been there.
What about that man?
The woman smiled, looking past him.
Your eggs are burning.
Damn!
Heron flipped the eggs and ran a quick eye over the bacon, turning the rashers that seemed too crisp.
The eggs are almost done,
he said.
Do you want some coffee in the meantime?
No, thank you. I require different sustenance.
Here it comes,
he thought, and he sighed.
Either the Satan mark means nothing, or she really is the devil's daughter, which means she's a succubus.
All of a sudden, he felt very tired.
Turn and face me, Michael Heron,
she commanded. He turned the bacon. Her voice became sultry, hinting at all the dreams man has had of women since the first couple walked the earth. It was pure heroin dangled in front of a mainliner's nose. He looked up and saw her reflected in the pans hanging over his stove, and her body was as enticing as her voice. To some, she was the ultimate woman. She was irresistible.
Come to me, man. I want you to come to me, to kiss me. Satana calls you, man. Will you not answer her call?
No.
He flipped a pair of eggs and some rashers of bacon onto a warm plate and faced her, holding the plate between them. Her eyes were green, he noticed. No iris, no pupil, just pure, shimmering, opalescent fire. Even as he watched, Satana's eyes became human again. A dark, almost black jade, unfathomable.
Have some breakfast. It'll do you some good. Doctor's orders.
Numbly, she took the plate and slid into a chair across the table from him. The cat meowed at her, Satana glancing a reply.
Exeter says that you were once a priest,
she said haltingly. He poured himself some coffee and dusted salt and pepper across his eggs.
Exeter? Oh, your cat.
Then he nodded.
Yeah, I was a priest. Once.
Yet you resisted my call. That has never happened before.
He smiled.
First time for everything. My soul, such as it is already pledged. Has been for some time now.
Many a man has cried those words before my call claimed him and his puny soul. You are different, Heron, you left your priesthood. Why?
She asked suddenly.
My business.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, the boy had said. I didn't mean to waste that dink woman and her kids. Honest, Father, forgive me, please. No, not then, not now.
You look strange, Heron,
Satana said, shattering his reverie.
You don't look so hot yourself. What happened last night, Satana? Who were those men? Why were they trying to kill you?
Why do you think? I am Satan's daughter, and those fools fear me for the Antichrist. They fear my father, and they fear Armageddon, and so they seek to put an end to that fear with my death. Fools, as if that would change anything.
Are you the Antichrist?
He asked. Now it was her turn to smile. She looked like some great cat, human in basic form, but pure, quintessential feline in everything else. She was playing with him like he was catnip, and she was enjoying every moment.
You were a priest, Heron,
she said silkily, letting his question pass.
Yet you tried to help me. You try to help even now. Why?
Because I was a priest.
I don't understand.
Heron let out a wry laugh.
Neither do I. I'm going out for a paper. Stay inside till I get back and keep the door locked. I shouldn't be too long.
Satana bowed her head in mock subservience, never once taking her eyes off him. Her voice stopped him at the door.
Heron,
She called.
Your soul would be a great prize. You know that.
He looked at her for a long moment.
I know,
he said simply. The hall was dark. Half the lights turned off because of the energy crisis. But it was a straight line from Heron's door to the elevator. He'd have no trouble. He was halfway there when his foot hit something soft in mid-stride. His thoughts were on Satana, and so he fell. He hit hard. There was a salty taste in his mouth. Blood. He grimaced. Satana'd probably like that. But what the hell had he fallen over? A lit match answered that question. It was the night porter, and he was very dead. His body was shriveled, like some great prune left weeks in the Sahara sun. His face stamped deep with a look of indescribable horror. The boy had seen hell before he died. That's right, he was a boy, no more than 20, using this job to work his way through school. Yet this corpse looked old as time. But the worst thing was the boy's eyes. Great, staring, milky, empty orbs of nothingness, staring madly into space. His soul was gone.
Oh my God,
Heron croaked, tears twisting their way down his face as he gently touched the boy's non-eyes. Then he remembered. The scuffle in the elevator, an Exeter that was not Exeter, hypnotizing the boy, forcing him to help get Satana into Heron's bed, and then stand by that bed until such time as Satana needed him for sustenance. The cat using the last of his power to blank all memory of the incident from Heron's mind, lest he interfere. Satana was in the hallway, looking down at Heron and the boy. She looked amused.
Why?
He asked.
He wanted me,
Satana replied. The truth of truths.
and I wanted him.
Why didn't you take me if you needed someone? Why the boy, for God's sake?
Heron was glad to see Satana reel slightly at this invocation. Good. He'd heard her. Exeter answered.
Because you were too strong, Heron, and the battle would have killed her.
Heron heard a whir from behind. The elevator. It stopped, the doors banging open.
You!
Satana roared, all the raw power and majesty she had to command rolling into that one word. Even in Heron's robe, she looked every inch a queen, and even Heron had to admit she was incredibly beautiful. He turned to see what was happening. Jimmy Cruz was crowding the hall with a half-dozen very tough-looking combat troopers, all armed to the teeth and all wearing crosses. Jimmy Cruz was pointing an M16 at Satana. Heron didn't believe it. Jimmy was a priest.
Die, hellspawn!
Cruz roared, his voice almost as big as Satana's. Heron had an instant to choose, a moment to act. He did both in the same move.
Satana, inside!
He yelled as he dove up into Cruz, ramming the gun into the air as a burst of shells plowed holes in the ceiling. It was a hopeless fight, but all he wanted to do was buy time for Satana to get inside and call for help.
Call the police. Do you hear me? Call the...
A rifle butt clubbed him into silence. Cruz was still very much in command.
All right, everybody out, and take this renegade
He pointed to Heron's unconscious form.
with you. We'll deal with him later.
What about the Hellspawn? One of the men asked. Cruz shook his head.
It's too late. The police are probably on their way. We have to leave now. But we'll be back, and the Hellspawn will die.
The hallway was empty in seconds. Behind Heron's locked door, Satana shook her head slowly.
No, human, Satana will not die.
The man is nothing to us.
Exeter said.
Nothing? A soul like Heron's dancing around my father's throne would be a victory worth exile on this dust mote. And those others must be made to pay for last night. I will not be beaten again, Exeter.
Words, mistress. Mere words. They almost destroyed you last eventide.
All the more reason to strike quickly.
And the man, mistress?
The man is mine.
I thought he was your father's.
Satana's voice was deadly still when she replied, her eyes gleaming with a basilisk glare.
Small one, you would do well to remember your place, and hold your tongue, lest I take it from you.
Yes, mistress.
Exeter said, his head still high. He yawned brazenly, without a care in the world. But what of the man, Heron? She had to claim his soul. That was the way of things. But she also knew that the day she took his soul, a piece of her would die, and she would feel loss. Damn the human side of her. Damn and double damn. She was Satana, the devil's daughter, and she would play her part to the end, come what may. Exeter watched his mistress's posturing, and he laughed. He knew better, of course. He always did. You have just listened to part 1 of Doorway to Dark Destiny, a Satana text story by Chris Claremont. Satana was played by Athena Howell. Michael Heron was played by Jude Healy. Jimmy Cruz was played by Matt Harvey. Narration by Matt Howell. Music by the Homeless and Orphaned Werewolves League. Part 2 of this story is coming very soon. Stay bronze, Pony Boy. Stay bronze.